Thanks, Will. Good evening, everyone. This is a meeting of the Medford Comprehensive High School Building Committee through remote participation only. Please be advised that there will be a full committee meeting of the Medford Comprehensive High School Building Committee on April 15th at 5:30 via remote participation only. The meeting can be viewed live on Medford Public Schools YouTube channel, through Medford Community Media on your local cable channel, which is Comcast 9, 8, or 22, and Verizon 43, 45, or 47. The meeting will be recorded. Participants can log in or call in by using the following Zoom meeting ID. It's 980-6376-7887. I'm going to start by calling the roll. Jenny Graham, here. Mayor Longo-Kern.
Present.
Dr. Galusi.
Present.
Marta Cabral.
Here.
Joan Bowen. Ken Lord.
Here.
Libby Brown.
Well, I just accepted Libby. But she's here.
Great. Marissa Desmond. Maria Dorsey. Brian Hilliard.
Here.
Emily Lazaro. I hear Emily.
I don't see Emily.
Okay. Paul Malone.
Here.
Nicole Morrell.
Present.
Aaron Olapade. Luke Preisner. Bob Dickinson.
Here.
Fiona Maxwell.
Fiona's not available tonight.
Chad Fallon. Kim Talbot.
Here.
Will Pipicelli.
Here.
Lori Hodgson.
Here.
John McLaughlin. Paul Rousseau.
Here.
Phil Santos. And Lisa Miller.
Here.
Okay.
Yeah, hi Jenny, it's Libby. I'm here. I got a little late.
Hi. Thanks, Libby. Okay, so 9 in the affirmative. Sorry, 9 present, 6 absent. We have a quorum. And we will get started. The first item on the agenda is the approval of our minutes from the March 23rd meeting. Is there a motion on the floor?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Brian Hilliard. Is there a second?
Second.
Ken. We'll call the roll. Jenny Graham. Yes. Mayor Longo-Kern.
Yes.
Dr. Galusi.
Yes.
Marta Cabral.
Yes.
Joan Bowen. Ken Lord.
Yes.
Libby Brown.
Yes.
Marissa Desmond. Maria Dorsey. Brian Hilliard.
Yes.
Emily Lazaro. Paul Malone.
Yes.
Luke Preisner. Nicole Morrell.
Yes.
Aaron Olapade. 9 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 6 absent. The minutes are approved. The next item on the list is approval of our March invoices. So that's $25,000 for left field, $90,000 for SMMA, and $166,206.66 for environmental and site. Matt, I'm going to turn it over to you quickly before I ask for a motion.
Yeah. So just to kind of expand a little bit on the environmental and site, the 3 consultants that make up the that portion of the invoice, CDW, who's handling the hazmat building materials review and inspection, Fort Hills Company, which is the existing condition study for and then Haley and Eldridge, who is our geotechnical consultant. So they've been doing all the test borings, test pits, and pulling all those geotech reports together. And as Jenny said, the left field and SMMA invoices are the agreed upon lump sum for the month of March.
Are there any questions from the committee? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Dr.
Second.
Galusi, is there a second?
Second.
By Ken Lord. We'll call the roll. Jenny Graham, yes. Mayor Longo Kern.
Yes.
Dr. Galusi.
Yes.
Marta Cabral.
Yes.
Joan Bowen. Ken Lord.
Yes.
Libby Brown.
Yes.
Marissa Desmond. Maria Dorsey. Brian Hilliard.
Yes.
Emily Lazaro. Paul Malone.
Yes.
Nicole Morrell.
Yes.
Aaron Lopate. And Luke Preisner. 9 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 6 absent. The invoices are approved. Thank you, everyone. Thanks everyone for hopping on. We do have a tight agenda today because we have our third community forum starting at 6:30 this evening. But we wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about really two things. One is an update on the schedule and where we are and what's next, because the project team continues to get lots of questions. We continue to get lots of questions from the community about that process. And then to respond to some of the questions that started coming up at the last meeting, just an update and some information from the project team as well about the MSBA's process of how they determine eligible and ineligible costs. So I'm going to turn it over to the project team. I think, Matt, you can sort of tell us when you're wanting questions, and we'll use the raise hand feature to field those questions. So you all, by all means, tell us when you want us to jump in with questions, and we'll hold our questions until that happens.
Okay.
Thanks.
Let me screen share again. Okay, yeah, so we'll take a quick look at just, you've seen this graphic before, but just a quick update on kind of where we are. So we're about a little over halfway through the feasibility study. We have submitted the first part of that feasibility study to the MSBA, which is the preliminary design program. We have not received comments back from them yet. We have received confirmation that they are wrapping up their comments, but they haven't given us a date back. We are hopeful that we see them this week, as that's a critical part of the next phase of the project, which is what we are currently proceeding in, which is the preferred schematic report. During this phase, we will be studying the 6 preferred options that were approved at the March 23rd Building Committee meeting. Going through and refining those options. I know SMMA is working on updated graphics and updated kind of plans, to kind of start to develop what these options may actually look like. Again, in the preliminary design program, they're very high level block diagrams. It's not, per se the design that is going to move forward. So as SMMA starts to refine these options, you'll start to see some shifts in the building design. They'll start to get more detailed. We'll start to put some floor plans together. We won't know exactly where spaces will go exactly, but we want to make sure that we're capturing all of the spaces that are in the space summary, and make sure that they all fit in in each of the options, and how they actually start to look on the site. The submission of the preferred schematic report will happen in late June, June 25th. The goal of this committee is to select a preferred option on June 10th at our June 10th building committee meeting. That will give the project team time to kind of pull the rest of the PSR submittal together. And then we'll be meeting again later in the month. I believe that meeting has shifted to June 18th. And at that meeting, we will look for approval from the committee to allow Left Field to submit the PSR report to the MSBA. Some other critical dates after that submission. The MSBA will hold what's called a facilities assessment subcommittee meeting. That will be kind of a preliminary review, typically with SMMA, Left Field, and some leaders from the district. Just really, it's a high level kind of review to go over, any initial questions that they may have, and also give a heads up on how that actual assessment subcommittee meeting will go. We'll have that meeting sometime in July, and then the preferred schematic report will be issued to the board of directors, at which they will review at a board of directors meeting in late August. Assuming all things go well, they'll approve the PSR and what the preferred option is to move forward into schematic design. And then at that point in time, we'll really get into a lot more detail on, on building floor plans, specifications will start to come together. We'll have a good sense of what the actual building systems will be. And the real key part of the schematic design will be the estimate during that phase. It will be a true construction estimate. Everything in PDP and PSR is a high level cost per square foot. So the schematic design estimate is really the first time we'll see a full breakdown of costs. And that will essentially dictate what the total project cost will be, and will be included in the submission to the MSBA at the end of February of 2027. They have roughly a two-month review period, and then we will be asked to attend another board of directors meeting at the end of April. They have not released the actual board meeting dates yet for next year, but that board of directors meeting will essentially approve the project to move forward. They will issue a project funding agreement, and that document is super critical, as it will determine what the final total project cost will be, what the MSBA's contribution will be, and in turn, how much will be remaining for the city of Medford to pay via debt exclusion. So I'll stop quick just to see if there's any questions on overall schedule. Not a whole lot of changes in the dates that we've been reviewing. We're still holding everything as we had planned. So kind of business as usual.
Libby?
Everything you described makes total sense, and I realize my question is like further down your timeline. But
Yep.
since I've started to see versions of this timeline go public or be used publicly, do you have any thoughts about the fact that we're still saying bid construction until 2030? Or, all the timelines we've been seeing for options, and I know it's early, and I know we don't know what we're doing yet, but none of them were 2 years. So I don't know how we reconcile those. Just 'cause I worry that looks very optimistic.
Correct. Yeah. So we are taking a much closer look at the phasing, of those 6 options, and especially as we start to kind of get a better sense of the layout. So yes, there a lot of the options do extend beyond that 2030. So it is something that we are looking at, and at the next meeting or the meeting following. I know our meeting on the 27th is a pretty packed agenda, but we'll start to look at a more detailed schedule. I know SMMA has been really focusing on some of those phasing plans and how that may result in schedule changes. So it is a good question. A lot of the initial estimates on schedule were created very early on in the process. I also will note that the 2028 to 2030 is really the construction of the actual building. We do know that this will extend into 2031 for fields and final landscaping and stuff like that. So we actually did have a meeting earlier today, and one of the questions was that we had was that, can we start to show a bit more detail as as to when move-in may be, when landscaping will be completed and all that. So it is something we'll work on, and we will have a presentation in the near future that has a bit more detail on each of those 6 options.
Well, thanks. Everyone's asking me, is it really opening in 2030? And I said, I don't have an answer for you right now.
Yeah.
Questions before we move on? Okay. Carry on, Matt.
All right. The next, skipped here. So I wanted to cover just kind of a quick high-level overview of the MSBA's eligible versus ineligible costs, and kind of how their grant assessment and cost caps work. Knowing that we still have 6 options, it's difficult to really say exactly what the MSBA will consider eligible and ineligible, especially without the PDB comments. That's really the first time that we get to see what the MSBA is thinking. We'll certainly cover this again as we start to get closer to a preferred option, and when we get an actual preferred option, we'll start to put together the MSBA budget spreadsheet, which is called the 3011 form, and that gets into a lot more detail. So I don't expect to answer everybody's questions tonight, and this certainly won't be the only time that we speak about it. So just quickly on kind of how this will work. The MSBA, during that schematic design submission, will ask for all associated project costs to confirm what the total project budget is. The MSBA reviews those costs against what the MSBA has for scope limits and cost limits. They will, the 3011 form will have its own column that shows which categories have ineligible costs and how much that is. They all add up at the bottom, and then you essentially remove those costs from the total project budget to determine what the cost basis for the reimbursement rate will be. So that is really kind of the evaluation process that the MSBA will go through. Looking at some of the kind of the bigger cost caps, and really the more critical, some of the more critical ones. The most critical one is the building cost funding limit. So the MSBA will fund up to $605 per square foot of eligible building gross square footage. We are currently tracking in the 6 options between 950 and 1,066, I want to say. So you can see just right there, the MSBA will reimburse $605 per square foot of that, but there's about $400 to $450 per square foot that it will be considered ineligible. Similar to site work, they reimburse up to $73 per square foot of eligible building gross square footage. Demolition is $42 per square foot of eligible square footage. Abatement costs are completely ineligible. So that will be a category that we will always break out once we start to understand the cost of the abatement. Soft cost caps are capped at 20%. We have been using a 25% markup from construction costs to total project costs. That is industry standard, and on a project of this size and complexity, I feel that 25% is about where we will land. But again, the MSBA will reimburse up to 20% of that. They also have caps on what they will reimburse per student on furniture, fixtures, and equipment, as well as the computer equipment and technology. For FF&E, it's 1,915 per student, and for technology, it's 1,570 per student. So combined, that's $3,485 per student. In a lot of cases, we do find that the FF&E and technology budgets are above these limits. We're still a little ways out from understanding, the full detail of the FF&E and technology, but it is something that we do oftentimes see some costs as being considered ineligible. Owner's contingency is capped at 0.5%. And the construction contingency is capped at 1%. And what this means is when we are in construction and we receive change orders, the MSBA will participate up to these percentages of those reimbursements. So they do participate in some unforeseen change orders that may arise, but it is a relatively small percentage of those contingencies that we'll carry. I'll stop there just to ask some questions about any of these caps. If no questions, I'll keep going.
I have a question, Matt,
yes.
do we know based on, I know we have 5 proposals plus the core rehab proposal. Based on the caps and the limits, do we have an estimate on what is reimbursed based on the 5 proposals we have?
Not yet. We'll definitely be able to start to get a better sense of it when we get feedback back from the MSBA. It really is something that we need. We'd be kind of guessing, based on prior experience. But again, every district is different. Every project is reviewed differently based on the needs. So it's very difficult to say exactly what the MSBA will consider eligible or ineligible. And I really wouldn't want to take a guess and, make them mad for saying, hey, you're going to reimburse on this, and then they say they don't. So it's something that we will start to pull together once we get through the preferred schematic report estimates. We want to make sure we have those updated estimates, knowing that there have been some changes to the building. We'll have a lot more information on building systems and any changes that may have happened between the submission of PDP and the estimates for PSR. So typically after we receive those PSR estimates is when we'll start to put together kind of these mock 3011 forms, just to start getting a better sense of where we stand with ineligible costs.
Thank you.
There are additional MSBA incentive points, which they do technically cap based on each of the categories. The first one is maintenance. This is something that will tie directly to the MSBA's comments. They typically will say will come back in PDP saying that we're targeting between 0 and 2 points. I would say we'll be closer to 2 than to 1. But again, really dependent on the MSBA's comments. There are additional incentive points for newly formed regional schools. That's not applicable here. Major reconstruction or reno reuse, another item that is kind of on hold until a preferred option is selected. Once a preferred option is selected and we understand how much of the building, if a addition renovation option is selected as the preferred option, we'll be able to start and understand how much of the school is potentially being saved and how that relates to additional incentive points. The two big categories are the next one's energy efficiency and indoor air quality. For green schools, knowing that we are targeting, very high energy efficiency, we are anticipating receiving all four of those points, 3 for energy efficiency and 1 for indoor air quality. So we do feel pretty confident about those two, but again, that is something that the MSBA will weigh in on as the design becomes more refined. And then the last one is the overlay zoning MGL 40R 40S. This is actually currently ongoing. There are discussions between the city of Medford and the MSBA. There were a few emails with questions that were sent over today to the MSBA. So they're reviewing with their legal team, and then we'll plan to meet with them and discuss this specific item to see if it is something that would be applicable here. So again, these additional incentive points won't be fully known, until the project funding agreement. Again, that's what kind of finalizes everything. We will certainly have a very good sense of where we'll be with these incentive points as we head into SD. But I did want to note, some of these potential additional incentives that could be received on this project. I'll stop there again for any other questions.
Well, did you have a question?
I did, yeah. So when you say incentive points, what do those actually go to? Is it like a percentage? Is it like a percentage point, or is it like a certain amount? Like what is, I guess what's the
Yes, it's
quantifier?
those are, yes, they're percentage points.
Okay.
So yes, it will increase Medford's reimbursement rate based on, how the building design shakes out.
Any other questions from the committee before we move on? Okay.
Just to highlight a couple of other categories that outside of the items on the previous slide, we've talked a decent amount about some of these, but I'll run through them quickly. But these are categories that the MSBA deems 100% ineligible. So legal services, if there's ever a need for any legal services, those fees are considered ineligible. We do know and are actively looking for land use attorney for potential coordination with DCR and Article 97. So that is something that we are currently looking at, and could be a potential cost that lands in this legal services. Site acquisition costs, not applicable here. Rental or storage costs, this is including modular trailers or modular classrooms. This is something that we've talked about before, but they are categorically ineligible. Demolition costs are on here, and not to confuse things, so I know on the previous slide, there's a $42 per square foot. This is really more applicable for districts that are like combining schools. The best example I could think of for this project, if we were going to, move some programs into Medford High School, and then say, hey, we're going to demolish that building after we move out of it, the MSBA would probably say, no, that's not a part of this project. We're going to consider that ineligible. So I don't foresee this being a major factor here, knowing that we are building on the current site, and we'll be demolishing the existing school. But it is something that the MSBA will review. Asbestos containing materials associated with flooring and ceilings, as I had mentioned on the previous page, and the demolition costs, any asbestos containing materials removal is considered ineligible. We've talked about district offices before, but they are also considered, oops, sorry about that. But they are considered an ineligible category. And then the big one, swimming pools, skating rinks, indoor tennis courts. Obviously, we've talked in length about the pool here, but that is something that the MSBA will not participate in as well. There's a lot of information on the MSBA website. I included the link here. There are several documents that go into more detail on some of these items. There are other categories to be considered as well that aren't really as applicable to Medford. These are kind of the big ones that we foresee as being potential categories of ineligibility. So I'll stop there again and see if anybody has questions.
Seeing none, Matt, I think you can move along.
Okay, kind of touched on this in schedule, but I just wanted to reiterate timing again, especially the later half of how the funding approval will need to go. So after the SD submission to the MSBA, we have that board of directors meeting in April, and pending their review of that SD submission, it's what will finalize their project funding agreement or PFA. And again, that will finalize the total project cost, the MSBA's maximum facilities grant, and then what the City of Medford share will be. After the MSBA approves it at the Board of Directors meeting, Medford has 120 days from that meeting to secure the necessary approvals. We are targeting May 27 for the City of Medford vote, so we're certainly well within that 120 days. But that is just something I wanted to highlight as it is a part of the MSBA's process. So, and I know I had mentioned the 3011 form. Again, we are fans of documents that are terrible to share on presentations. This is not filled out. This is strictly a template. And I really just wanted to show this to help kind of explain how the MSBA's grant is inevitably finalized, but there's a lot of information that goes into this document. So it's not a straightforward calculation, and is something that we will work along with the MSBA to get this thing right. So like I said, we'll start to pull high-level versions of this together as we get the preferred schematic report estimates and start to have a better sense of cost. And obviously, as we move into the schematic design, we'll have one option and create one 3011 form for that option, which will again be submitted to the MSBA and reviewed as a part of their project funding agreement.
Can you or somebody on the project team drop the link in the chat to where to find this form on the MSBA website so that if people want to take a look at this in a form that they can read, that they can go there and pull down their own copy?
Yep. Yeah, we'll share it and okay. This is just a continuation of the document. Again, lots of information needs to go in here. You can see, some of the red items. These are the cost caps that were reviewed previously in the presentation. But yeah, just trying to get people to understand, that you can't just take the total project cost divided by the MSBA's reimbursement rate and land at what their reimbursement will be. So again, we'll revisit this again. This is not something that is just a once over. And as always, if anybody has questions, between now and our next meeting, feel free to reach out. Just touch quickly on upcoming meetings. So immediately following this, we have our third community meeting. We'll go through process update again and then review the current list of alternatives. The last time we had a community forum, we still had the 29 options. So this will be an update to the community on the 6 that are being moved forward into PSR. Our next big meeting for the building committee will be on April 27th. There have been a couple of links shared for building committee members' inputs. So if you have not seen those, please let me know. We can resend them. The proposals for reducing spaces are due this week on Friday. The project team will then take a look at all of the comments received, compile them into we have seen that we've already received some similar questions or similar proposed motions. So the project team will kind of compile them and make sure that we have a concise list for that meeting to help us move through those as quickly as we can. We do anticipate that 427 meeting to be fairly lengthy. Moving into May, we have our 4th community meeting, really to revisit process updates, and this will be more focused on responses to some of the community questions that we've received. We do anticipate receiving some tonight, which the project team will answer and post on the website. On May 13th, we'll be meeting with the abutters again. This will be our 2nd meeting with them. May 20th is another critical building committee meeting, as that will be the first time we'll have updated cost information for review. So we should be getting those cost estimates back in early May. And then we'll have similar kind of comparative matrices to look at the 6 options and see how those costs have shifted based on that meeting on April 27th and what the building program looks like. We have another building committee meeting on May 27th. This will be a meeting to discuss the alternatives. We'll probably have a couple of other items to review as well, but that meeting will be good to have just as another kind of filler to continue to provide project information and updates. We'll have our 5th community forum on June 3rd. This will be an update to the community that the building committee will receive on the 20th and 27th. So we'll be reviewing updated cost information of the preferred options that were estimated. And then June 10th is another very critical meeting, as that is the meeting that the building committee will be asked to select what their preferred option is to submit to the MSBA in the PSR submission. And then the 6/22 meeting is actually moved to 6/18, so I do apologize for the typo, but that will be the final review of the PSR submission, and we'll be seeking approval to allow Left Field to submit it to the MSBA. It is due to the MSBA by June 25th if we want to get on their August Board of Directors meeting. So that's the critical meeting at the end of June to receive that approval and get that submission over to the MSBA by the 25th. And that's all I had for this evening. I'll pause for questions. And
Lisa?
Hi, I just was wondering if you could clarify if once we have accurate information from MSBA about how much they will reimburse us, more finalized, not the ones that we'll be getting soon that are more based on square footage is my understanding, but more of the final numbers. How much kind of will we be able to revisit the design if we feel like, oh, we're not getting as much money as we had thought, this is too much? or is at that point the design pretty set? I guess I'm wondering how much response can we, will we be able to have to the more final numbers?
Typically, the design by the end of schematic design is pretty well set. We will certainly, through the various estimates that we'll be doing in this phase, and getting comments back from the MSBA and PDP and PSR will really help us, understand where their thoughts are. So hopefully, well before we're that late into schematic design, we will have a much better sense of where the cost is, and having those comments from the MSBA will help us determine what they are considering eligible and ineligible.
Thank you.
Questions from the committee? I see we have a couple folks from the community on Zoom with us here as well, and I just wanted to ask if any of the folks on Zoom have questions that they would like to answer. You can use your raise hand feature and we can allow you to unmute if there's any questions. Okay, seeing no questions. Thank you everyone for joining us. We are back here or back in about 15 minutes where we'll be talking more about the 6 options that are moving forward and what the next steps are so that we can bring the broader community in on what those design choices are and go from there. So please join us then if you can, and if you can't, it'll be recorded so that you can provide so you can take a peek at on your own time. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
By Mayor Longo-Kern. Is there a second?
Second.
By Ken. We'll call the roll. Penny Graham, yes. Mayor Longo-Kern.
Yes.
Dr. Galusi.
Yes.
Marty Cabral.
Yes.
Joan Bowen. Ken Lord.
Yes.
Libby Brown.
Yes.
Marissa Desmond. Maria Dorsey. Brian Hilliard.
Yes.
Emily Lazaro. Paul Malone.
Yes.
Nicole Morell.
Yes.
Aaron Olapati.
Yes.
Luke Preisner. So 10 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 5 absent. The meeting is adjourned.